Oh, dude, I forgot the craziest one. We went with Steve Aoki to Hawaii and went big wave surfing. And I'm like on the back, I'm on the back of like a jet ski with some dude who's usually like, professional jet ski guy that they shoot like Jaws, the Jaws surf break with. And we have like 30 foot waves. And I'm on the back with the camera holding on to him and he's just gunning it, trying to get this footage. It was nuts.
This is back to your story.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
How are you doing, bro?
Good, man.
I love it. Matty boy. Been trying to get you on here for a little bit now.
Hell yeah. Good to be here.
It's seriously an honor to have Mr. Matty Dukes on the podcast. I appreciate it, my young friend.
I appreciate you, man.
How's your?
I feel honored to be here, actually.
All right. Cool. Yes. Yeah. Have you done podcasts before?
No, first time.
Popping your cherry.
Exactly.
All right, let the nerves soak in.
It's a weird thing, man.
We're
here.
We are here. We're here live in the flesh, the Back to Your Story studio.
Absolutely, I love it.
Thank you, bro. I
love
appreciate
what you're doing the place.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a little slice of home in my home.
A home away from home.
It's a home. It's a home away from home inside my home.
Exactly.
Wrap that around your head, motherfuckers.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ, dude. So Matt, for the people just tuning in, you want to do a brief introduction?
My name's Matt. It's a weird thing to introduce yourself. I feel like I ask myself that a lot. Like, who am I?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Who are you? I'm a son. I'm a brother. Recently an uncle, which was very exciting. My sister had a baby. I work in film and television. It's weird. Like I don't do one thing. I feel like I do a few different things. So like in my head, and it might sound a little douchey, but I'm a content creator.
Yeah.
So I film stuff, edit stuff, do a lot of editing, directing, producing, all that is kind of encompassed in, filmmaking, video making.
Creating content.
That's it.
You're a content creator. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And that is it.
That's it.
Thanks for listening to Back to Your Story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and now we're out. So, sir, Mr. Content Creator, when you look back at your own story, where does that start?
South Africa.
South Africa. Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Yeah.
So, you grew up in South Africa, right? Back then, did you always have dreams to be a content creator or work on film?
It was either film, music, or art, I would say. Right. It's funny. Like I grew up when I was younger, playing in a lot of bands. I've been into music all my life. My mother taught me how to play guitar when I was a wee youngin', and loved that. And I think as I got older, it kind of went more into video making. Me and my friends would, VHS record. I think my dad went on this trip for work to Singapore, and he came back with like a VHS recorder. Nice. And I remember that was like a big turning point. I was like, yeah. And me and my buddies would go and shoot like dumb shit in the garden and like do little things, fill up balloons with fake blood and do squibs and that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then I think when I got a little more older, thinking of like a career, it was I thought graphic design was really cool. But this is like a long time ago, before like having real access, and also growing up in South Africa, we didn't have the great access to the technologies that like you guys had out here. So it was more just like, what can we do with what we have?
Yes.
And yeah, that's it.
About being resourceful. It's so crazy. VHS. It's like, what is that?
Exactly.
You know, it's like this big
dating myself.
big rectangular thing with this film inside of it, right? And do you remember like back in the day? I don't know if you guys had like Blockbusters, but in South Africa, it was
Oh,
like,
we have VHS shops. We didn't have Blockbusters, but we had
but similar.
mom and pop VHS shops.
It was like this slogan, like "Be kind and rewind." you know, and it was just like you'd get docked if you didn't rewind the tape because their people had to rewind it for you.
100%.
It was like fucking crazy, and it was just like flash forward, 30, 40 years later, and it's just like it's streaming everything, watching all this stuff that just like magically comes through the air on your fucking phone. It's just
making movies with your little phone.
100%, like top-notch quality 4K, like beautiful stuff on your phone today. Like this was like like wizardry back then. Like if when we were 10 years old and someone pulled out something like this, you would have thought they were a fucking alien. Right? Like it's so crazy to think, right? But growing up in South Africa, what was that like? Especially like during that time, we hear the news like apartheid and everything like that. For you, what did that look like?
I mean, it was definitely a very unique experience. Trying to think how best to. The thing that I love about it growing up during that time is I was a kid in school as apartheid was being abolished and Mandela coming into his presidency and seeing the entire country change. And this was, I think he was elected in 94, I want to say. I was quite young back then.
You want to pull that up? Look up Nelson Mandela when he was elected.
Because he was freed from prison. And then with the ANC party, and they've done documentaries and films about it, but President de Klerk and Mandela had this relationship, and there was this really great handing over of the reins at that time. And it's weird to say now, but like I remember, I'm trying to think how old I was, but I remember having the first black kids in the classroom with us.
Wow.
And it was like a new thing. You know what I mean?
That is so crazy. When was it, Tyler?
1994.
So 1994. Like, to think those types of things happened in America way before I was born,
100%.
And 1994, which was, in all aspects of it, it was not that long ago, right?
Absolutely. I would see South Africa almost, or Africa in general, is kind of like, in my head, like the Wild West.
Okay.
I feel like it's, in terms of America's history and America's story, we're like that much further back, but there's very similar things that have transpired in both continents.
Yes. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, 100%. 100%. For you being a little kid during that time, did you even understand what was going on?
Not completely, but I do remember. There was so much segregation. There was a lot of violence back then. It was kind of dangerous, and there was. I do remember like a palpable fear amongst people that once apartheid was abolished, there would almost be a reverse apartheid. So I do remember like a lot of white people leaving the country at the time, and friends, parents like going to New Zealand or we're moving to Australia because who knows what's going to happen kind of thing. And there was definitely a fear of, I don't know, murder, it could have just gone so the other way, and it just didn't.
That's a beautiful thing.
It is, man. The African people are the most beautiful people in the world. They're just, and I think it was also, I'm by no means an expert. I just lived it, but I know that the collaboration between de Klerk and Mandela saved South Africa because it could have gone so many different ways. But they just came with like love and understanding, and Mandela to me is a hero.
Yeah,
like he saved that country from all sorts of turmoil. And I remember they have the truth and reconciliation court cases where people would be held accountable for their actions over that time. But there was definitely, I wouldn't say it was like the smoothest handover in history, but. It was kind of a crazy thing to live through.
I mean, it was a big time of change. And did you feel that? I mean, because being young, it's like you're a kid. You don't really grasp the magnitude of what is going on, but the adults definitely do. In your sphere of things, how did the adults handle, such a big change, a very necessary change, like obviously, right? But what was that like?
I think, I mean, in my personal experience, it was a mixed bag. I know my family was just like, this is great, this is amazing, but that wasn't, it was like almost like a 50-50 in terms of like the thought process behind it, because there were still a lot of people that wanted it to keep going how it was, and there was a lot of fear. And I think, but I think as it kind of slowly progressed, everything got better.
Yeah, definitely. What was it like before that? Was there like whites only areas and
Absolutely,
like similar to America?
Very similar to America. I'd say it's exactly the same as America.
Wow.
Back in those times.
Yeah.
Like white, sitting at the back of the bus, or this is your bathroom and this is your bathroom kind of thing. I think growing up, I came kind of at the back end of that.
Yeah.
So I didn't experience it as much as my parents did. But thinking back now to when I was younger, before the transition, I definitely remember it was different. Yeah, it was like that.
Yeah. I can't imagine that experience of being some of the first, little black, boys or girls going to school with you. Was there a lot? Was it just a few?
In my class specifically, as that transition changed, I think it was probably like, I want to say like 20 or 30% of the classroom.
Okay.
We didn't have huge classes. I think you guys have bigger classrooms out here, but like say if there's say we had, our year would be 20 kids. We'd have 3 or 4 black kids in that class. And then also like, they come filter in, and then as it progressed, it got more and more kind of equal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, it's definitely it's a long story of a lot of hate and violence, and a group of people in a nation that stood up for change, and it's 1994 not being so long ago, and just learning from our own past. We see what happens when more people come together than being separated. And that is a very, very unique experience that you got to live through. Going through school, so now to go off, a different topic, right? Going through school and living up in your own home, was the arts a thing everyone did, or was it something that, was, just you?
Not necessarily just me, but like that was definitely something I gravitated towards. I mean, I think that's a hard thing when you're growing up as a kid. You're trying to figure out your way in this world, right? And there's so many different. My parents want me to be a doctor, or I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be that. My parents were kind of open to me picking and choosing the lane I was going to make for myself, and it just kind of fit. And so like I went, after school, it was kind of, it's that big decision. Like, what are you going to do with your life? You know what I mean? Every kid has to deal with that. And your parents are like, what? It's high school's over.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And, my journey went a few different ways, but, I thought at that time, with the technology that we had available, I thought that graphic design would kind of be the thing that I could make a living, because I had older friends that were working in that. And I know that South Africa, specifically as a country, has a lot of great graphic design firms. Like, as a people, they kind of skew that way. There's like a lot of art and creativity in that sense. And that's what I thought I wanted to do. So I went to university and did art and design for the first year, and then for the second year, you kind of get accepted in to the graphic design program.
Okay.
You kind of have to like, show that you're good enough to get in.
Yeah.
I unfortunately wasn't good enough, and I was probably smoking too much weed at the time, and kind of, not being the best student. And I think at that point, like that was like a pretty bad time for me, because we all went in, and it's almost like a casting call. There would just be like a list of names on a wall.
Yeah.
And you go and see if your name's on there. You've been accepted to
Yes.
the graphic design program. If it's not on there, you're not going. So
your
from
name
a
wasn't there.
class of maybe, I don't know, I think 30 kids, only 10 would be accepted.
Wow.
And I was not part of that 10.
And how old were you at this time?
I was probably about 19.
Okay.
Yeah, 18, 19, I think. Maybe, no, not 20 yet. And then after that, because that was, in my head, that was the safe bet in a way. And then after that, because I grew up with music and I loved music my entire life. And I was like, I want to do music, but you can't really do music here. You know what I mean? It's like, if you want to do music, you go to America, you go to England, you go somewhere else. Like, there's not a big, I mean, there is a music scene, but like, if you're going to make it as a artist or as a something, you got to get out of there. So I had a long conversation with my parents. I was like, and I guess I didn't love it. That's why I didn't love the art and design. It was kind of the safe choice, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I want to just go, 100% into music, and I enrolled in a sound engineering course.
Okay.
So I know all about
All of
these
this. All of
and
it.
all these
all
things.
Of it. Yeah. Yeah.
And-
Sorry, continue.
Oh yeah, no. So that's kind of what I did, and I ended up doing that for 2 years.
And where was that?
That was I grew up in a city called Port Elizabeth, which is on the coast of South Africa, kind of on the like the southeast coast. I did it. It was a 2-year course. You did the first, you got a diploma. You did the second, you got a degree. And but the degree was in Cape Town. So at that time, I kind of did that course. I mean, there's a whole bunch. Like, I was playing music. I was DJing at clubs at the time, producing music, and that course was all about recording and producing music. And then I got accepted into the second year in Cape Town. So did the big move to Cape Town from Port Elizabeth, which is about, I don't know, 6-hour drive. And lived in Cape Town for a year, worked at a surf shop, and DJ, did clubs at night.
Wow.
And did the course, and got my degree in sound engineering.
What was that life like, right? Being in your early 20s?
Yeah, young 20s.
DJing,
it
going
was
to
cool,
school,
man.
Working at
Cape
a surf-
Town, and also like Cape Town was like the hub.
Okay.
And this, I mean, I've done a fair amount of traveling in my life. Cape Town is still one of my favorite cities in the world.
Really?
It's beautiful, man. Like, there is a lot of poverty in the surrounding areas, but the city itself, I mean, if you just look at the image of like Table Mountain, it's on the water.
Let's check that out.
Everything's, really cool people. Everyone is hustling.
Table Mountain?
Table Mountain.
Table Mountain in Cape Town?
Yeah.
Let's check it out. Okay. And so this is where you were living at the time?
Yep. I lived here for a year and a half.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah. Whoa. That's it. So the mountain is, if you think about it, it's almost like, in a way, it looks like Hollywood. So you got like Hollywood, and then you got the Hollywood Hills.
Yeah.
Obviously, nobody lives on that mountain.
Yeah.
But it's also at the tip, like the bottom tip of Africa. It's like the Cape of Good Hope.
Yeah. Aren't the waters pretty treacherous right there?
Yes.
Yeah. What was that book? It was about like a kid and a guy, and they were going around the Cape, and it was like 100-foot swell.
Oh, 100%. I lived that experience.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean you lived that experience going through a 100-foot swell?
When I was much younger, I think when I was 12 years old, my dad got gifted a boat. and it was we had to pick it up at a place called Mykonos, which is on the west, like near Cape Town, but on the west coast, and drive it back to Port Elizabeth. So we did a whole trip basically around the Cape of Good Hope, and I think it was like a six day travel journey.
Okay.
And that the second night we were on the boat, we went through crazy storms on the Cape of Good Hope, like right around there. It was, I think, basically we all did it in shifts. So I was with my dad, and there were a couple other sailors on the boat, and you took a couple of shifts each, and it was probably like 2 a.m. in this crazy storm.
How big are these waves?
I mean, it was a big boat. It was like 30-foot boat, and it was like surfing down the waves.
No
and then coming
way.
up, and gnarly storms. I mean, I
Did you feel like you're gonna tip or?
yeah, man, and but also around there is these crazy coral reefs.
Okay.
So like the depthometer, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Like it'll go from like 20 meters, 4 meters, and like it kept going. So we're going over this crazy like.
So at
like
any moment you
rocks
could
and
crash
shit.
into the rocks.
Yeah,
No
absolutely.
way, dude.
And I specifically remember after that trip, I didn't eat rice for probably like 3 years because we had eaten like this rice bowl, and I got the worst seasick I've ever been. And I went down to go to sleep and just got so sick, I puked up, and I remember rice coming out of my nose.
No freaking way, dude. How scared were you?
Yeah, it's pretty scary. But then I remember we finally got through it, and the next morning and then we found this bay that we could kind of like pull into, Plettenberg Bay, which is really beautiful. And I remember after that like horrendous like scary night, it was me and my dad, and like the sun was coming up, and we're in this like totally tranquil bay, and there were all these dolphins swimming around the boat, and I was like, all right, this is cool. Like,
So
we
like
made it.
one of the most scary experiences of your life turns into like a very beautiful, surreal.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'd have been so freaking scared, dude. I'd have been so scared because I've just heard stories of how terrifying that water is, and then to actually go through that. I mean, did you?
There was also like one other thing that made it even worse there's something, I think it's called a bilge pump on the boat. So if water comes into the boat, it'll pump it
Yeah,
out.
okay.
It'll pump it out. And there was something wrong with it, so it had reversed. So the more they used it, the more it was pumping water into the boat. So we're going through these crazy swells and stuff, but then there's water on the floors.
Oh no!
And we're like, this is it.
Dude, and how long were you guys going through this? Like hours?
The whole night. Yeah, entire night.
How could you even sleep?
Oh, no, you couldn't sleep. But yeah, I think at one point, I was just like, I went downstairs, and like we weren't sleeping, but that's when I clearly remember being sick.
And you just wanted it over.
Yeah.
Wow. And at that time, I mean, there was technology, but it's not like it is today.
Not like it is today. Yeah,
Not like it is today, where you can, really forecast everything from your fucking phone, right?
Oh no, they had like those like they were using sextants. I don't know if you know what a sextant is.
No.
It's like
Pull that up. A
literally
sextant?
like where you like
Like
traveling
longitude,
by
latitude?
but it's like this contraption, like old timey, old school, where I think it's like you navigate by the stars.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So
Let's check this out. All right. A sextant.
Sextant.
A sextant.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Oh, I've seen those.
Yeah.
Here, for the people listening, let me just read up the Wikipedia thing real quick so they can know what it is. A sextant, here we go. A sextant is a doubly reflecting navigation instrument that measures the angular distance between two visible objects. The primary use of a sextant is to measure the angle between an astronomical object and the horizon for the purposes of celestial navigation. That's what you guys were using.
Yes. I mean, they definitely had some other stuff on there, but we didn't have GPS.
Oh my God, dude. Can you imagine that, Tyler?
No, I'm already scared of the sea.
Bro.
But I mean, I grew up like surfing, and like I think like my former years were in the water my entire life. Like growing up in the coast. So it wasn't.
Man, you were surfing in South Africa?
Yeah.
Like shark infested waters?
Oh yeah. 100%.
Any close encounters?
For me, a couple close encounters, but I personally know 3 people that have been attacked by sharks.
Deadly?
One of the guys, no, not death, but like one of the guys lost his legs.
Legs.
Leg. Sorry.
Leg.
Yeah. I forget his name. Neil. He was actually a professional bodyboarder, and he was one of the guys that would like kind of like making a scene in like on the international stage.
Yeah.
Bodyboarding around the world, and he got attacked by a shark in South Africa and lost his leg. I met him a couple times. He dated like a good friend of mine's sister, so I got to know him, but he didn't let it stop him, man.
He's still bodyboarded, yeah.
He didn't bodyboard anymore, but he did like I think they call them max skis.
Okay,
it's like where you sit on it and you pull in. It's almost like a surfing canoe, if you will.
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah. What's that? It's she's a chick. She's a professional surfer. She got like I think her arm or something bit off.
They made a movie about that.
What's her name?
I forget.
We just
I think she's an American girl.
Female professional surfer shark attack. What do you see?
Oh, the movie's called Hamilton.
Okay.
Sherry Hamilton. Is that it?
Let me see.
Oh, Bethany Hamilton.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bethany Hamilton. Yep. Damn, that's crazy, dude. Whatever. Okay, so growing up in South Africa is definitely it's crazy. Did you ever like go out and like go safaris or anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, my dad was big into. I mean, he would be better on your podcast than me. Honestly. Like he's had a crazy life. Like he has stories for days. But he was an explorer. He was like a big like Land Rover dude. So like like when we were younger kids, like we would. Namibia is just to the it's just above South Africa on the west coast, and I think it's called the Etosha Pan, which is like. Namibia itself is like a giant desert, but with amazing wildlife. Like you pull in, like, and you just go and we, stay in tents and just cruise through, for as far as you can see, it's just like sand dunes and stuff. And Namibia is awesome, dude. Like, we grew up there. One cool thing that I remember about Namibia specifically is the ghost towns. Because during the Second World War, it was occupied by Germany, and then once the war ended, they all bounced. Yeah. But what they left behind was the towns that they had built and all their horses.
Wow.
So I remember specifically this one day we were driving up this road in the middle of a desert, and suddenly there are like 30 wild horses just all galloping together, and they have long manes because they're wild.
Yeah,
it's cool. And then the ghost towns themselves are trippy because you'll go into the spot and you'll see a sand dune, and there's like this little house popping out of the top, and you walk into it, but you realize that you're on the second floor.
So it's covered under the sand.
Covered under the sand, yeah.
So these sand dunes just like really like encapsulate.
As the wind came and the sand changed over the years, like there's entire towns where they just have them peeking out of these dunes, and you can walk into them and see the whole house, but it's underneath sand basically.
Now, is there anyone like managing them, or are they just like?
I think now there are. I think they become kind of like tourist attractions where where people come out specifically to see those spots.
Wow, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Very, very unique. Okay, so let's bring it back, right? No. So sound engineering, right? You get into that, right? You're doing the second year. You're still in South Africa, right? When do you eventually, because I know that you eventually make the pivot to the UK, right?
Correct. Yeah.
When does that happen?
Well, just to backtrack a touch, I remember my dad had a job in the UK, so we moved there for a year. When I was younger, I think I was probably about 17. was basically like the year before the final year of high school, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so we emigrated there, did the job. I went to school in the UK for a year, and then we came back to South Africa. During the time there, my best friend from the new school that I was going to, his mom was a producer for the BBC.
Okay.
And and he was DJ. We would DJ. We'd make music together. That was the whole thing. And then I came back to South Africa, and then I basically finished my sound engineering course in Cape Town and went back. And that was like, okay, now what? Now where are we going? You know, like what's the next move? And I'm fortunate. Thinking back on it now, like I was super fortunate because my dad is British. I had both a South African passport and a British passport.
Wow.
So if I chose to, I could go to England and live and work there if I wanted to. But that was like such a hard thing for anybody else from South Africa when it comes to visas and work visas and travel visas and stuff. So I was still in touch with my friend Jamie, and his mom was like, "Hey man," because let me backtrack a touch. When I was thinking about what the next step was, I thought that composing music for movies would be an amazing career.
Yeah,
just doing soundtracks, scores, stuff like that, and knowing that she worked at a lot of post-production houses. She was like, "Hey, I can get you an interview if you're interested." And I was like, "Hell yeah, that's awesome." So I packed up a couple bags and jumped on a plane to the UK, to London, with an interview to be a PA.
Okay. Big moves, baby.
Yeah. I was like, hopefully this interview goes well.
Yeah.
Or else I'm back to Africa, which, I mean, that's cool too, but ended up working out. Started as a PA for a post-production company in the UK, pretty big one. Like I think they're probably the biggest in England, London, called The Farm. They had a few different buildings that were associated with that company, and I just started serving people sandwiches and tea.
There we go.
Yeah,
big dreams.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. And how old were you at this time?
I think I just turned. Must have been about 22.
Okay.
Guessing, yeah.
Was that I don't want to say a culture shock, but going from South Africa to the UK, different environment, different.
Definitely colder.
Colder, right? Just like on all different levels. And you moved to London?
London, yeah.
Right. What was that experience like? And I knew you knew someone out there, but you were pretty much on your own, right?
Yeah. By my own. I had another friend that one of my good friends in school had actually emigrated there a couple years earlier. So I think when I first moved out there, I stayed in a hostel with him.
Nice.
In London, and then just started working. It's funny. It's like the difference between South Africa. I would say South Africa is in terms of the culture, humor. Vibe is a mixture of England and America.
Okay.
So people have asked me that before, and I've always said that like it wasn't a giant culture shock because I kind of grew up on like American comedies and British comedies. So like there's I feel like England has a very specific sense of humor compared to American humor.
Yes. Oh, by far. Yeah.
But growing up in South Africa, I appreciated both.
Yes.
So apart from, you're in the big city, cold, windy, rainy, snowy, but in terms of being able to chat to people and, connect with people, it wasn't that much of a culture shock, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. When you were there, especially when you first started out, was it mentally hard? I know you're young, you're excited, but being alone, away from the family, on this new journey, what was that experience like?
I think for me personally, I think it was exciting, and it's kind of like, come on, let's go, let's make it. I was like pumped, and I wanted the energy and the excitement to go for it, and I worked a lot. I worked a lot. I served a lot of teas, I served a lot of lunches, and like made friends there. And kind of like as I worked for that company, I started like seeing other working at a post production house. They have mixers, they have editors, they have colorists. Yeah. So I was introduced to all these other jobs that like before I had no idea about.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of it being scary or being by myself, I think I just kind of embraced it, and I was more excited and just, like just thinking about like my folks back then, or even just my friends back then. They're like, yeah, bro, like it's almost like I had like a golden ticket as an opportunity to go and do something different. A lot of the kids that I grew up with were working for their parents' companies, or they were servers, or like kind of in Port Elizabeth, it's and this is a generalization, but it's kind of more of like a small town mentality.
Yeah.
Whereas like I want to like break out and go try to do something different.
Yes.
So I think that that kind of just fueled me. I had a decent time meeting new people. I started DJing in a club quite soon. Yeah. So like it was almost similar to what I was doing in South Africa, but in a totally new place. And it wasn't. Yeah, I think I was just like, let's go.
I love that. I love that. Where do you get that from? Is that something that was instilled in you as a young kid? That like go getter mentality? Is that something you got from your dad, your mom, your own?
Yeah, like I said, my dad's like way cooler than me, and he'd probably be a way better interview. But I think I just kind of just got a little bit of that. What does he always say? He had a saying when we were growing up, which I still think about this day, and he's like, "Life is an adventure."
Yeah.
And they just wanted me to go do the thing,
I love that.
And I mean, I can't complain. Like I had a really cool childhood growing up. I love my parents, and they just kind of instilled me that drive, I guess. And then it's also a part of you that kind of wants to make them proud.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I think any young kid that is fortunate to grow up in a good household wants to make their parents proud.
Yeah.
Right. The people,
because I saw like it's all about the sacrifices, right? Like if you bring up some rad kids, you've made a lot of sacrifices in your life.
Of course.
Yeah. Because it's easy to just say, fuck them off and do it, but like they were great. And I saw like it's so funny, as you get older, you only get, once you have that knowledge, once you're older, you see some of the sacrifices that be made that you didn't realize when you were younger.
Yeah, it's so crazy to think like how your brain works as a kid. You don't really understand the full magnitude of what your parents have to go through to give you this life and give you this opportunity, and especially if you have good parents or a good mom or a good dad, right? What they have to do, all that grind, that hard work, sacrificing, days, nights, things just to be able to provide, you don't really comprehend until you're older, right?
Absolutely.
And then when it clicks, you're like, oh my fucking God, why did I act like such a dickhead, right? You're like, what the fuck? Like, why did I do that? It's so stupid, right?
Right.
But yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. You want to make the folks proud, man.
100%. And I didn't come from like, it wasn't always easy. I didn't come from money, but I think when I think about it, like the thing that I had like a little bit one up on maybe some of the kids that I grew up with was that British passport. And it's so weird. Like when you think about that kind of stuff, it's like there are so many talented people in this world that are amazing, but they won't get certain opportunities just because of where they live. And I feel like that's such a not cool thing.
Dude, you fucking hit the nail on the head. Listen, man. And I know we've talked about this before, where even with my own issues, having multiple sclerosis, and even on my worst fucking days, man, I realize how fortunate I am to be a guy that was born and raised in Los Angeles, fucking California. Even though my father passed away when I was 17 years old, all the trials and tribulations, everything that I've gone through, what I was given, I won the fucking lotto.
Wow.
I won the lotto because, and I know I've said this so many times before on this podcast, dude, I could have been born in Venezuela, Afghanistan, Pakistan, like all these other fucking places, North Korea, man, like all of these other places that are not blessed with the same opportunities, even South Africa, right? You know, the opportunities that we are given here in the States, it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people take that shit for granted.
Absolutely.
Take it for granted. And it's very, very unfortunate because, you know, America, even with all of its skeletons and all of its shit, man, is a very beautiful and fortunate country. Yes, there is bad shit. Like I get that's fucking anywhere. But like, dude, we are as a culture, as a society, like we are definitely very blessed with the opportunities we have out here.
Absolutely, man. I remember when I first came to the States, I would get like angry about like people that I would see that were just, you know, not taking advantage of the opportunities that I had. I was like, motherfucker, like I've worked so hard just to be here.
Yeah.
And you're like taking it for granted. And that's, I mean, I've kind of chilled on that for
Yeah.
a minute. But I remember specifically when I first got here, because it's not easy to get here if you're not from here.
It's a fact, man.
And I would just be like, what are you doing, man?
It's crazy, man. It's so crazy. Yeah. So I can't relate, but I understand.
Absolutely.
Right. Cause I fucking totally respect it. I totally respect it, man. And I know that I hit the lotto for sure. The life lotto, 100%. All right. So, getting back to your story, right? It's like you're out there, you're doing the PA work. How long were you going through that process until you decided, well, you know, maybe I want to start making some content, right? Did that come like way later down the road, or?
I think when I first got there, I had that drive that we discussed earlier. And I was like, I want to meet whoever I can to, you know, go up that totem pole, go up that ladder. So, and as I said, like when I first got there, I thought that, you know, with my sound engineering, I thought music, not specifically music, I thought the sound engineering thing was going to be my path. And as I started at that new company where I saw those other disciplines or those other careers of editing, color correcting, music mixing, sound, composing, I suddenly thought that the editors seemed to have, it seemed more interesting to me, the video editors.
Yeah.
Because they had slightly more control over the narrative, slightly more control over the mix. Because a lot of people, you know, an editor will put together the thing with the music and the dialogue and all the stuff and kind of mold it and create it, right?
Yes.
And then the sound mixer would just take what they did and do some levels and make it sound nice. I was like, the other one sounds more interesting to me because they have more control in a way. So, and then also my love of music, I think I specifically remember even when I was a PA, I was like, that looks a little cooler to me. And then there was this one guy, Guy Harding, and this was back in the time where music DVDs were a big thing, like live concert DVDs, multi-camera concert DVDs were like a big thing, you know, like big shows and, you know, bands playing live, and then they come and they cut all the cameras together and do the DVD and also on for television broadcasts as well. And there was this one guy, Guy Harding, who every time he came in, he was slightly revered in they'd be like, oh, Guy Harding's coming in today. Let's make sure the edit bay is nice and clean. Let's get in make sure the juices are in there. Let's get in whatever. And I was like, oh, this guy's interesting. So I kind of started becoming more friendly with him. And like every time there was like a celebrity guest like coming to, I met Oasis. He would do like the Oasis DVDs. Like I met Boy George with him. Trying to think Coldplay. Um, uh, Prodigy. U2.
Fuck.
Big, just like those
Big
big
names,
bands when
yes.
they roll in, and I'm the guy bringing them their lunch.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, this guy's doing something right.
Yeah.
So I just started like kind of, you kind of build a relationship, become friendly. And the thing that I started doing was also the guy who was like the technical manager of the spot, Adam Pete, who taught me so much. I'm forever indebted to him. He would let me I would work my day shift, and then at night I'd go into an empty bay and play with some of the footage that had come in and start learning how to edit and how to cut things. And I started sending them to Guy, and I'd be like, "Hey man, will you just check this out and let me know your thoughts?"
Wow.
And through that relationship, kept sending, and he was great. He would be like, "This is cool. This, give me notes and tell me what I was doing right or wrong or etc." And then I think a year later, so I think I worked in London at that company for 3 years and built those relationships. And then at a specific time, Guy was working in the States a lot. He kept flying back and forth, and then eventually he decided he's going to move there because he's getting so much work in the States. Like, he's worked on some of the biggest shows in the world. And one day him and his wife moved there, but I still kind of keep in touch with him and send him stuff for his review. And one day he just got a call out of the blue. He's like, "Hey man, I want to start a company on this side. Do you want to come?"
No way.
Yeah. So it actually started out, he was doing a lot of work from his house, and he was like, "Do you want to come out for like 2 weeks and just help me out with some projects?" Because he had taken on too much work. And so he only had one edit bay, and so he would edit during the day, and then I would edit at night. But then the cool thing was, during the day, I would sleep in or whatever, and then they rented me a car, and then every day this was even before GPS, they had those TomTom.
Yep. Yeah.
Every day they would program somewhere for me to go check out in LA. So I had 2 weeks where I was like, let's go to Santa Monica, go to Malibu, go to Melrose, check it out, and go shopping or whatever. And then go home and edit. And I did that for 2 weeks. It was awesome. Went back and I was like, man, fucking America, LA is cool.
Yep.
And then it was shortly after that I get that call. It was probably 7 a.m. And that's when we still had landlines. The landline goes off and he's like, "Hey man, starting this company, you coming?" And it was I specifically remember this moment. It's kind of fucked up, but I remember getting the call because I think there'd been an email going back and forth. I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and we had our room, and then my friend John was our roommate. And I hung up the call, and he was like, "Fuck yeah, dude!" And then she burst into tears. I was like, "Yay!"
Yeah. Damn, no way, dude. So getting that phone call, what was that experience like, especially after coming off of that 2-week trip now? Because, obviously you said yes, and I assume you and your girlfriend.
Yeah, it didn't work out.
Yeah. Well, so what was going through your mind at that time?
That just seemed like such a, it felt like winning the lottery or something.
Absolutely.
Going and working with the guy that I most revered in terms of his craft, and going to America from England. And that was just such a crazy thing. It was it's something that I never thought would have happened, but it did. And it was exciting and scary all at the same time. Yeah.
It's like getting that golden ticket, Willy Wonka.
Absolutely.
Right?
100%.
And this is like an ongoing thing that I really I've started to realize about doing a lot of these podcasts, is the initiative that a lot of successful people in their craft take, right? Early on in their career, their ability to just fucking do it.
Yeah.
Right. Just do it. Right. It all started out with you just taking those and splicing it and sending it to him and, just trying and putting yourself out there. Right. And if you would have just continued to serve coffee, tea, like who knows what would have happened. Right. But for you to have the foresight to just fucking go for it. Right. You never know what's going to happen, man. And you do that enough times, good things will happen.
Totally. And especially when you're hungry. I think when you have that hunger and you have that desire to do what you want to do, you really just got to capitalize on that, because you're not always going to feel like that.
No, not at all. Not at all.
When you have that energy and the excitement and that vision and drive, you got to go.
You have to.
Because it's so easy to have one or two people tell you no, and then you just like, oh, okay, cool, I guess this.
And
is
just give up and fuck it, right? That's so correct. And it's crazy because like when you get older, right, you start to get kind of you stuck in your way, and you build your life, and you have your systems and all these things, right? But when you're younger, man, that fucking drive inside of you is like it's like a glowing light, and it's just like, well, what are you gonna do with it? Are you just gonna keep it all for yourself? Or are you gonna fucking throw it out to the world and see what happens, right? And a lot of times people just kind of keep that to themselves and are too afraid to push it out.
Yeah.
But man, if life is a blink of an eye, bro. It's a flash in the pan, like, dude, 2023, we're almost done with January already. Right. So it's like when you're younger, the clock is kicking. And yes, of course, dude, it's never too late. And all of those things are true. But like, especially when you're younger, you want to be able to seize the moment. Right. And it's so cool to like hear your story and how it's really starting to, really mold and come together. So you Guy Harding, which is a great fucking name, like just a great fucking name. I just got to put that out there. Gives you the call. Obviously, you and your girl, and you're coming, right? Do you remember the day that you landed?
I do.
Well, what was that like?
I do, because we got into a car accident.
Wait, what? Really?
They picked me up from the airport. We're going driving from downtown LA, LAX through downtown up to, they lived in like Beechwood Canyon, and some guy slammed on brakes in front of us and we hit the back of the car.
Holy shit.
Oh, shit.
Motherfucker, I've arrived. Let's go, baby. Yeah. Damn, that's so fun. That's crazy. But they got you okay. Okay, so you get out here, and what is some of the stuff that you start working on?
I got here, and then obviously I was just all in, it was basically a startup. Obviously, he had a roster of clients and a roster of British clients as well as American clients, and I was just here to help. And I was just an assistant at the time, like I was an assistant editor, so I just help him out, ingest footage, help him with cuts, whatever it was, and help. Literally help build out the facility.
Yeah.
Like literally like putting doors and shit on.
Damn.
But yes, starting that, and then met a bunch of other like-minded creative people here. I was staying at I ended up finding a house on Craigslist, like a share house. I was living with 3 other people. One of the guys ended up, he's my oldest friend in LA, who was like an agent at ICM at the time, and he's now, what is he working? He's at CAA or something. Not CAA. What's it called now? UTA or CAA is whatever.
I have no idea what the hell you're talking about, but that's okay.
A big agency.
Oh, okay,
creative arts agency.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, and just kind of started working there. And that was I think that was the thing that kind of helped me just go up real quick, because we were working on some incredible like high-end projects, and big scale stuff, and I just got to meet a lot of incredible directors, producers. We did a lot of work with MTV, and that was when MTV was still in its heyday, like doing a lot of music stuff, award shows, movie awards, Critics Choice Awards, the Music Video Awards.
And so you guys were like splicing this up and editing it?
Yeah. Basically, so we had the post house, and we're cutting that up, and then through that process, and then also doing a lot of doing music videos. Then the majority of it was big multicam concerts.
Okay.
So, and music videos, and through that process, I met my next mentor, who really changed my life. His name is Wayne Isham, and he was, one of the biggest music video directors in the world during the 90s and 2000s. I mean, he still does great stuff, but like he did all of Metallica's music videos, but also like he would do he did Britney Spears music videos, like the one of her in the desert, on the mountains, and In Sync and Justin Timberlake and all these things. And he just liked the way I put stuff together. And so every time he'd come in, he'd work with me, and that kind of got me more into the filming side of things, because he's like,
really?
Man, you have like he really didn't. I could talk about this for hours, but that was the segue between me being a full-time editor into going out and shooting and going on tours with bands and stuff like that.
Wow, man. So how old are you at this time when you moved to California?
I think I was 24, I think.
So nice and young, right? So at this point, how long were you working with Guy until you made the transition with Wayne?
I was still working. I still worked with both of them, basically. But working with Wayne, I think I'd been in the company for a year or two. So I'm guessing I started doing stuff with Wayne when I was about 25 or 26.
So,
and I mean, I know we've talked about this, but I did some stuff with Blink 182.
Yeah.
And that was totally random. That was not through Wayne or Guy or anyone, but through a friend of mine from a bar. We just became fast friends, and he was doing all of Travis Barker's videos for like Famous Starts and Straps and his various companies. And I don't know if you remember, like back in the day, he would do those like remixes where he would just drumming.
Yeah,
but
drummer boy, all that shit, yeah.
And so I became friendly with him, and through that relationship, that was when Blink decided to get back together, because they were broken up at the time, and I was like, hey man, it'd be cool to shoot a getting back together documentary with them. And we went and shot that, and it was through the process of shooting that, even though it never came out, showing Wayne some of that footage got me in the door to go and shoot the stuff with him. And
so before we get to that, right, let's talk about the experience with Blink 182, right? What was like, so, from meeting the guy in the bar and doing all of that, what was that experience like with Blink 182? Did you go on tour with them, or?
Yeah, basically it's so Haven was basically Travis's videographer. He shot all the things that we just discussed, and when they decided to get back together, we came up with this idea. Haven pitched it to the band. He went to each of the members and was like, "Hey, you guys," because they announced that they're getting back together, and then they were gonna go do a world tour, basically.
Yeah.
So he pitched it to them. They were down with it, and it was just basically me and Haven with some cameras, and we started out at the Forum. Was the first time. I think I'd met Mark before, but that was the first time meeting everybody. And they did tour rehearsals at the Forum, I think, for like 2 weeks.
Shit.
So just it was basically just hit the ground running kind of thing.
And how long did you go with them?
We filmed. I was still working at the post house. So I was Haven was on the road with them, so I wasn't able to go to all the dates, but I went to quite a few of the American dates. It's so funny. It's because like they didn't pay us to do it. If that makes sense. They were just like, "Here's your tour laminates. Come shoot whatever you guys want." Kind of thing. So whenever I could, we'd go film together, and then I remember me and Haven transferring him like $2,000 or something so that he could get out to Europe to go capture those dates as well.
No way, man. I mean, shit, dude. Who
So
cares?
it was like You know, and
Yeah.
we didn't have a lot of money, but it was like, dude, we have
Dude, it's Blink-182.
yeah,
Like such a
we
great.
have, yeah. That was the thing. It wasn't like it's so funny looking back at it now that I've produced and directed and done like proper shows
Yes.
with a budget and all the stuff. Like we were just like winging it. They were just like, yeah, here's the key. You guys do your thing, whatever it is.
I mean, but how many people really ever get those experiences, right? And like a lot of people, like, I don't have the money or this or that and the other, but it's just like, dude, once again, your life is a blink of an eye. So it's like if Blink-182 says, fuck, let's do this, right? And you know, whatever, you're not going to get paid, but you can follow us around and do it. Like, what, man?
Yeah.
Like, why not?
It was a rad experience, man. It was so funny. Like I've seen like the Blinkumentary is like something on the internet. I think it was like voted like one of the like top 10 documentaries that never came out, kind of thing. Because we ended up I think we filmed with them for like a year on and off.
Okay.
And I mean, I went to Tom's place out in San Diego and shot with him there, and Mark out here. The one thing that we could never like pin down was getting an interview with Travis, and then it was so funny. Like we were on the road and we got all like, and we were like editing at the same time as we were filming. So we're putting things together, sending it to them. They dug it like, but it just kept going because we weren't quite sure what the trajectory of the film was, if that makes sense. Like you have this, we're getting back together. I think by the time we were close to finishing, they broke up again. That's like, we had like a giant screening at the label, like with like 40 of the execs. Like it was like, we were like on the,
no way,
the 5-yard line or whatever. Yeah. And I think after that, like Tom kind of bounced again, and it was kind of dead in the water.
Dude, you guys got to make like a 2-part thing of them like getting back together, breaking up, getting back together, right? Like that'd be
yours.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, man, that's cool because I've seen clips of it and it's fucking awesome. At the party, you showed some clips of it. So freaking cool, and like such a rad experience. You know, I'm a huge Blink-182 fan, and you know, who knows how long, if they'll stay together for a long time or not, but. Yeah, man, like that's hopefully you still get to put it out in the world one day, man.
Absolutely. It's so funny. I rewatched it the other day, and like I think the story of it doesn't track as well now because they have so much history now.
Yeah.
But those live performance edits that we did, I mean, we had the best of the best. You know, if you think about the greatest hits album, we have like amazing performance.
That's so cool, dude.
Those,
That's so cool. That's so cool. Awesome. All right. So this is like around the time before you really started with Wayne, right? Was this like around the time when you obviously were transitioning to get behind the camera, right?
Yes.
So then you start working with Wayne. What is that experience like? And like, what is do you remember like the first big thing you did with him?
I think the first big thing that I did with him was, do you know Cage the Elephant?
100%.
I shot and edited their first ever live DVD. Like they came out with a live DVD. It was in Chicago. I forget the theater's name. But it was multicam show of their first show. So we met them somewhere. We actually went. I think they performed at Jimmy Kimmel. Went to Jimmy Kimmel, met the band, hung out, and then he was like, "Cool, man. We're getting on a plane tomorrow. We're going to Chicago. We're gonna go film this thing." So we had one night at the. I forget the theater's name. It was beautiful. Like I'm still really proud of that show. It came out really cool. Band were great, super nice guys. Matt's awesome. His brother's awesome. I forget his name right now. I'm blanking on names. And yeah, filmed that. Came out well. Put it out. And that's when things started. And then I think the next big project after that was the Foo Fighters.
So you go from all of these experiences, right? You work with Guy, the Blink-182, Cage the Elephant, obviously some time in there, and then the fucking Foo Fighters. And that was you were with them for quite some time, right?
Yeah. Actually, let me backtrack one second.
Yeah.
I think this after Cage, I think the next one we did was Metallica in Quebec. They brought out a DVD. I think it was called Quebec. What's their I'm blowing this right now. I'm blanking on all the names. I think it's Quebec Magnetic. They came out with a DVD. Went out and shot them up there. And, it was Halloween, and we shot 2 nights with them, and that was sick. Hanging out with them was incredible. And then the next one was the Foo Fighters.
So you when filming these, right? Do you get like time to like because you said like hanging out with them was incredible. Like, do you like interview them before, after? Do you like hang out and party with them? Like, how does that?
I think the first 2. I mean, Cage was still quite a young band, so
Yeah.
that was a little bit more fun and hanging out vibes. Metallica, I was more just like, oh shit,
That's
fucking
crazy.
Metallica.
Yeah.
But like, I remember that, like, getting there the first day I arrived in Quebec, they're like, you got to go to this room and shoot some stuff, and it's them every tour they have a backstage room with their entire setups, like guitars and drums and all that stuff. So I go into this small room, probably about 3 times the size of this room, and they're practicing. And so you film them practicing, and it's the 4 of them, and you're like, where the fuck am I? You know? And they are incredible, dude. They have such mastery over their instruments, because a lot of bands that you work with will have a pretty similar set list every show when they do tour. They'll have, they'll go through the thing. Metallica specifically, they do it on the fly. So
Wait, what?
yeah, every show will be a different set list. Like, obviously, like the big ones that like
the
Master
hits.
of Puppets or whatever. Like they'll play that at the end to close the show, or whatever. But I just remember walking there, and James would be like, "Yo, do you guys want to practice anything?" I'd be like, "Yeah, man. Enter Sandman, 3rd bar, this," and then I'd be like, "All right, cool." Like straight in from wherever it is.
Wait a minute. So they'd be like, you want us to do anything, and you could pick whatever you want out of their shit.
Oh, not me. For them.
Oh,
when
for
they're,
them.
when they're practicing. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
okay.
Because they'll be like, "Oh, I haven't played that song in a while. I just want to practice the guitar solo or whatever," and they'll just go in straight from, like 2 minutes into the song and just go straight in, and I'm just like, wow, pretty
man,
cool.
so freaking tight, right?
Yeah.
Like their music is so tight, and to be able to witness that, just a few amazing, I mean, fucking legends, right? And you're in there,
Some kid from South Africa.
some
like,
kid from South
with a little
Africa,
camera.
like at any time going through, it's like, do you ever have to like pinch yourself? Like, how the fuck did this happen?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, man. So many pinch yourself moments for sure.
Right? Like that's pretty fucking surreal, dude. Yeah. So from those experiences, how did the Foo Fighters thing come about?
So that was again with Wayne. Dave wanted to do a music video for a song called These Days. I'm not sure if you're familiar. And he wanted to do like a live video for it. So it was me and a team of, I think, 6 people, flew out to Australia. It was basically, we went to all their tour dates in Australia and New Zealand. And yeah, we basically just went on tour with them. And the video came out cool. It's like in classic Wayne style. It's like one of those like, kind of like old school multicam things, but we would just basically shoot every single show, as well as like kind of behind the scenes moments and stuff. So I got they just were like, "All right, Matt, you go with the band, just shoot whatever and hang out." And it came out pretty cool. I look back, because I shot it and edited it, but looking back at it now, I was like, there's so many things I would have done differently.
Yeah.
But it still came out great, and they're awesome. We did shots at, like, I went to Dave's house and like filmed him like packing for tour and stuff like that. And then just them basically performing, and then also all the behind the scenes banter and things like that, which we like crafted into the video, which came out great. And then basically, I think we got back from New Zealand, and it was a week or two after that, and Dave hit us up, and he was just like, "I want you guys to come on the South American tour."
No way.
And they wanted to shoot a documentary of the tour.
Yeah.
So, and that for me personally was one of the best experiences of my life with a band. It was incredible because I was basically with them all the time, and I was the lucky one that got to go and do, like, you know, so you'll fly to Argentina, and then they go do, you know, they'll be there the day before or do sound check or whatever, and then they'll go do some stuff in Argentina. Like we went horse riding in Argentina with the band and had this amazing lunch, or like being in Brazil and traveling on a boat and having a barbecue out there and stuff like that. It was amazing. And the whole time, that tour specifically was a bigger tour. So the way they traveled now is they have like a Boeing 747, but the entire plane is first class.
No
and they have their
way.
logo on the side, and the whole crew and everybody's on it. And yeah, just cruise.
So you're traveling through South America in a fucking 747 with the Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
Holy
I got some great shots of it, man. I should give you some photos. There's some great stuff.
Wow, man. And you're sitting there the entire time, like filming all of this.
Yeah. But like, I think I feel like through those experiences as a cameraman, or, you know, like DP, you learn, you pick and choose when you're filming. Cause I think it's more like a lot of it is building a relationship and being respectful.
Yes.
And I think after that Australian tour, that's why I was kind of became the guy that was cool to film some of the more intimate moments, just because you don't want to be the guy who's putting a camera in somebody's face all day.
24/7. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. And so do you take that off of like social cues, or like, how do you decide, okay, this is cool to film, but this is not?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's just more about like, because you're in the room, you're picking up B-roll, you're shooting shots, you're doing the thing, and then you kind of just get a vibe when the conversation is becoming a little bit more personal. And you're just like, I don't need to film this.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
I think it's more just about like, not social cues and as them shutting you down.
Yeah.
It's more just being like, sensitive to like what's going on, and does this really need to be on film?
Absolutely. And when a band like that travels, do they bring their family, friends, entourage?
On the Australian tour, it's just the band. The South American one, they brought like the Wise family. I don't think the kids came out on that one, but it was more like the significant others.
And how long was that South American tour?
2 weeks, I want to say. We did Argentina, Brazil, and what's the other country? Brazil, Argentina, and the one on the left. I'd tell you if I saw my phone. But we did 2 Lollapalooza in Brazil, Lollapalooza in
Brazil.
the ones on the west coast. And then
Peru?
Argentina. Peru. That's the one, yeah.
Wow.
And dude, like one of the best moment I've ever had filming anything in my entire life was, well, there's 2 actually. The best was being on stage with them at Brazil's Lollapalooza. They were the last act on the last night, and Brazil, like South American crowds in general, are just the most passionate, energetic, amazing crowds you could ever hope to play before, right? And you go out there, and I think it was something like 200,000 people just singing every word and screaming and going nuts. I had tears in my eyes.
Yeah.
It was like so beautiful. And then we did this other thing in the other show in Argentina. I think they did 2 nights at this at the stadium. And the one night was crazy weather storm and lightning everywhere. And I have this great shot of Dave on stage with this crazy lightning all in the background. I'll have to show it to you.
Dude.
I could put up there.
Do you have it?
Yeah, somewhere. I have it on my phone. I could grab it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can easily find it, that'd be awesome. Man, I mean, that's just got to be such a surreal experience on being on stage with a band as iconic as the fucking Foo Fighters.
Absolutely.
And then having 200,000 people sing along to every single word. Airdrop that to him, can you?
Yeah.
Holy crap, dude. That's such a cool shot. Now, was that a still or did that come from video?
That came from a GoPro that I put behind his amp, I think it was.
Okay.
Well, I think it was on Taylor's drum kit, actually.
It should just be MacBook Pro when you airdrop.
Dude,
Tyler's MacBook?
Yeah.
there we go, baby. Yeah, make that full screen so everyone can see that, dude, because it's so sick.
That's the coolest shot ever.
And so what kind of cameras are you guys filming on?
We had
Let me see.
it was like
You want to put it on TV?
Yeah, I want to see it. What did you guys say? Or
we had
would
a bunch of different ones we shot like on,
Damn, man.
yeah, it's nuts. That I took a screenshot of it because I don't have the file.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it
yeah.
looks a little.
Well, yeah, but we
Raggedy.
get the point. My God, that's so freaking cool, dude. Okay, so yeah,
Bunch
especially
of
being,
different cameras. It was multi-format. We had red cameras, GoPros. This was a little while back, so I think it was HVXs. I want to say,
but no big fucking camera.
not big giant. Like I was shooting on like a 5D.
Okay, why do like when they're doing like reality shows or whatever? Like, why do they film on those big cameras?
I think it's mostly. I mean, it was industry standard, but I think it's mostly because you're going for like it's specifically like reality or doc. Sometimes you're going for such a long time that because of the time that you're filming without stopping. So some of those smaller cameras can't cut it, and then also you with those bigger cameras you have all of the XLR inputs and like the 5D you have like a little onboard mic or something, but with those other ones you can have lav mics or
Just so many different things hooked up to. Because I always wonder, I was like, man, the cameras that they have now are so small. Why do they need so many different,
and also just something like as simple as like ND filters. I mean, this is kind of like nerd shit right now, but like if you're shooting on like a DSLR, you literally have to physically take the ND filter off, put it on, but those bigger ones you can just switch through them because they're built into the camera. So if you're shooting like a really sunny scene,
okay,
chuck the ND on, then, and especially if you're shooting doc or a reality show, you go from outdoors to indoors, you suddenly have to quickly switch it so that you can expose properly.
Yeah. I always wonder. I was like, man, that just it just seems weird, especially for today. But now that you explain, I totally get that. And they've got to be not as heavy as they used to be though back in the day, right?
Back in the day, yeah.
I mean, dude, I feel like all those fucking dudes have to have like terrible backs carrying those fucking cameras, and like especially like the dudes that just like walk around and like you see them walking through the jungle or wherever, like this big ass fucking camera on their shoulder. Like I could just only imagine how fucked up their necks are for like leaning that thing on you.
Absolutely,
100%. Okay, so you go through this really special experience, right? Being able to tour with the Foo Fighters. What year is this around?
What was that? I think it was like 2012, 13 maybe. Yeah, it was. I mean, that when I look back at my career, like those are definitely some of the highlights for sure. Like,
I
just
don't
being in
doubt
that spot. Like one of my favorite things, especially when you're on tour and especially when you have a band that's playing like stadiums or arenas, whatever. My favorite thing in the world is once the show's done and everybody's left and the guys are like sweeping up the confetti or whatever, just being in that room and having that, like, you still feel that energy in the room, if that makes sense.
100%.
And I remember like there would be nights where I would be sitting up with, like I remember specifically this one night where I think this is in Australia, but it'd be like, it was me, Wayne, Dave, and he's just like regaling us with stories about Nirvana. I was like, this is like the best night of my life.
Dude.
It's sitting in that spot once everybody, seeing the guys cleaning up the confetti and like you're just sitting there and this dude's, talking about like Kurt. They were talking about Metallica and how Kurt and Dave went to go, Lars invited them over to the show and they almost got blown up by the pyrotechnics because they were sitting in the wrong spot, like just shit like that. You know?
Dude. It's so incredible to think the amazing career and longevity someone like Dave Grohl has had, right? Because like a lot of musicians, I don't say like a flash in the pan, but it's like they have their moment and then that's it. But like going from Nirvana, which is, you know, one of the greats, right, of all time, and then transforming from a drummer to then, you know, the lead guy to the, you know, the Foo Fighters, like that's.
I always respected him for that, man. Like coming out of the shadow of Nirvana and creating something that's, you know, excelled way further than Nirvana ever did. You know, Nirvana, it's insane what he's been able to do. I mean, it's so funny thinking like that was part for me specifically. That was one of the, also just being on tour with them was like a kind of pinch yourself moment because like I learned playing guitar to Everlong.
Yeah.
I learned playing guitar to Everlong, and that's when I was still in South Africa as a kid. And cut to however many years later, and you're sitting there, and he's telling you stories about Kurt.
It's like, I mean, it's just chills, man. Like, it's just so fucking cool, right? Absolutely. And like, how many people in this world get that unique experience, right? There's not many, not many. Like that's, you know, to say. And to be still so young at that point, right? And to be living this life and surrounding yourself with these very, very special and talented individuals, it's such a cool experience, right? Absolutely, yeah. You know, and at that time, dude, how old are you? Like fucking
2012. I'm old.
Getting old, baby.
Yeah. I must have been late 20s.
Yeah, late 20s, right? Like so freaking cool, like so unique. So you get back from that tour, right? What comes next in your journey?
What comes next? What came next? I ended up meeting I don't know if you remember on MTV back in the day there was a show called The Buried Life.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I fortuitously, randomly met Ben and Dave from that show who had started a production company and did a show with them. And then through that relationship, went on to do another show with, do you know Rory Kramer? He's a videographer.
No.
Social influencer.
Okay. You want to pull him up? Rory Kramer?
Rory Kramer. He does, I mean, he does a lot of stuff with Bieber right now, but he basically made his mark doing a lot of like DJ.
Oh. Yeah. I definitely see this dude. Okay.
So I ended up spending a year with him creating a show from MTV where the show was called Dare to Live. When we created it and sold it to MTV, it was called Rory's Day Off, and it was a cool show, man. I worked on it for a year, and we would basically go out with an artist and film that show. Okay. And then the conceit of the show was film the show, film the concert, and then the next day take them on the most epic day off ever.
Right. And so what was that? Like who?
It was amazing. So we went, so Cruella, the DJing sisters, we took them up to Lake Tahoe. They played a show there, and then we took them on a crazy day on the lake. Bottom bouncing, skiing, all sorts of crazy shit. Khalid, what do we do with him? It's also like they were all like kind of like super active things. Like Martin Garrix, we were in Vegas, and then we went and did some like crazy Nerf gun battle with these like SS guys and crashing cars and shit. Then like we went to Japan with Shawn Mendes and went to like one of those sumo restaurants where you dress up as a sumo wrestler and you go do sumo with real sumo guys. Ray Shrimmered, we did a thing in Florida, and then we took them like alligator wrestling.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it was nuts, man. It was Iggy Azalea. We did some stuff in LA, went horse riding and shot our music video. And who else did we do? There were a couple others.
I think I remember Chainsmokers.
Chainsmokers.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Rory actually, that's how he came up. He was their videographer and kind of blew up doing their thing. And we also had like another, like, Rory has this thing where he modifies like old cars. Like he'll chainsaw like the roof off and then go do crazy J turns and stuff.
Okay.
So we did all sorts of that kind of stuff with it. It was awesome, man. Also just like another one of those things where you're working with really cool people, but also having a cool life experience.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so you guys filmed the entire season, and you guys didn't even know who like this was going to get sold to or anything.
Oh no, we did basically we did a pilot. The pilot episode was with Cruella at Lake Tahoe, and then MTV picked it up and greenlit it for, I think it was 8 or 10 episodes.
And so when you're going through these experiences, do you actually get to experience the thing too, or are you just filming all of it?
Yeah. And dude, I forgot the craziest one. We went with Steve Aoki to Hawaii and went big wave surfing. And I'm like on the back, I'm on the back of like a jet ski with some dude who's usually like, professional jet ski guy that they shoot like Jaws, the Jaws surf break with. And we have like 30 foot waves, and I'm on the back with the camera holding on to him, and he's just gunning it, trying to get this footage. It was nuts.
Dude, you're not shy to big waves, are you?
No. I think my South African experience probably helped out with that one.
I'm sure it set you up for this experience. Yeah. Holy shit. And so on this jet ski, you're like having to like mob over them because they have to like pull them into the wave.
100%. So we were on like shooting jet skis, and then they have another jet ski dedicated to pulling them in. But I definitely like saved Steve Aoki's life.
Wow.
Because him and the jet ski that pulled him in got taken out by this big wave, and the guy was trying to get the jet ski, and I was on the back, and like we went in. I grabbed him by his arm, and then we went out before like this giant wave came and hit us.
What did he say?
He was thankful.
Bro, dude, that thing can. Dude, I almost died off of like a 2-foot wave because what happened was it kept on bringing me down and down like this, right?
Yeah.
And every time I try to go up and that, like it's crazy. But a 30-foot wave.
100%. I mean, I think I have some photos of it somewhere.
Oh my fucking God, dude.
Dude, it was nuts. Like,
I mean, these are all very, very unique experiences, and I like how you start. Like, I saved Steve Aoki's life. Like, how many people get to say that?
Yeah, I mean, I helped for sure.
I know what you meant. But that's like really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you have it?
Bear with me one sec.
No worries. So you guys do this, and it does it get picked up for a second season, or you guys?
It didn't get picked up for a second season, unfortunately. Yeah, I can show you real quick. Like those are the boats, and that's the waves. I mean, and also it was like the worst weather.
Holy shit!
Because we only had one day to shoot it.
Yeah,
and because of time constraints with the network, whatever, we had the one day with the show, and then we had the next day to shoot whatever we could. And it was like whether you didn't want to go out.
Yeah.
But we're like,
were you scared?
I have to. A little bit, yeah.
And how was Steve Aoki? Was he shit, dude? That's a big wave, bro. I don't want to be on that.
Yeah. He was cool. I think there was another one. But yeah, I mean, they were all game for it, man.
Yeah.
We did shark diving with him as well.
Whoa. What's that like?
That's cooler because it looks crazy because they're like big sharks, but they're not that like vicious. You know what I mean? It's not like great whites or whatever.
Okay.
Like the ones that we dove with were like.
And so, what are you in a cage?
Oh no, I was on the boat. They were down there.
Were they at a cage?
They were in a cage, and then they decided to go freestyle. Yeah. If you ever see videos of Rory, and if you know him, you know he's not scared of any challenges.
Dude, that's so weird, bro.
He calls himself a professional life liver.
I guess so, bro.
He's a great
Tyler,
guy.
would you ever go swimming with sharks outside of a cage?
No. I'm in the cage.
Me too. 10 out of 10 times. There's no way. I have like a fear of the ocean, right? Not of the ocean, but like swimming in the ocean. And I guess maybe it's like a control thing. It's like, because you can't fucking see anything, right?
Right.
And I know that like shark attacks are few and far between. The amount of sharks we kill every single year compared to the amount of, didn't we look this up before?
Yeah, it was a while ago.
I think it was like 100. We looked this up. I think it's 100 million sharks a year are killed. It's either a million or 100 million. Completely different numbers, right? But like, but still, even a million, that's a lot. Like that's a lot, right? What does it say?
So, an estimated 100 million sharks are killed per year.
Wow.
100 million sharks per year.
And that's through like fishing and stuff as well?
Obvious. Yeah. And then how many humans die each year from shark attacks? This is crazy, dude.
73 unprovoked shark bites. Not even kills. Total 47 kills last year.
So 47 kills. 100 million. Like it's not even fair. Like it's just not even, and that's so many sharks, bro.
So many. Yeah. 100 million.
That's a lot, bro. Imagine if sharks were killing 100 million people a year. Bro, we wouldn't even know what to do with ourselves. Like we wouldn't even know what to do. And it's just so fucking weird that a lot of people are afraid of the ocean, right? Yeah. A lot of people are scared. Why? Because of fucking sharks. But like realistically, sharks should be very, very afraid of us. Right? Yeah, it's just those numbers don't even make sense, bro. And I know we've talked about this before, but I think it's because of like the whole everything that movie Jaws did, right?
Absolutely.
And even though it came out like in the 70s and everything, but it changed the culture forever, right?
It's funny. It's like me and my sister when we were kids and after watching Jaws, obviously, it's like we were scared to swim in the swimming pool at night. Like, oh,
dude,
there might be a shark in there.
100%, bro. 100%. I used to be afraid to swim. Bro, that's kind of weird, right? To think about. There's no fucking sharks in the pool. But like it's nighttime and you don't know what's in there. And it's just like your brain as a little kid. It's like being afraid of monsters in your closet, but there ain't nothing in your closet except clothes. Right? It's just like weird shit that we think about. I 100% used to be the same exact way. But yeah, 100 million sharks, dude. That's fucked up. Okay, so you go through that experience, right? Is there anything that came, because I know eventually the show that you're currently working on is Alone. What's it called?
Life Below Zero.
Life Below Zero. Such a great show. Sorry, I called it Alone, but
they wouldn't like that.
I was gonna say Naked and Afraid, but I've never seen that show. I just know it's a show out there. So was there like other things that came in between eventually working on that show?
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. The thing that I did for a while, so I was doing these tours with bands, live concerts, music videos, but at the same time, I was still working with Guy at the edit house. So I'd go out, do these things, and then come back, and that was kind of like my stable like day job, if you will. At that time, I was doing a lot of development work with the BBC. So development basically means that you show ideas, new show ideas. So they'll go out, they'll shoot what they call a sizzle, which is like an idea for a show, 5-minute thing. And so I was just cutting those for them. And one day they had this idea for this, I think they called like Bush, Alaska, I think was the original name.
I love Alaskan Bush.
Yeah, exactly. And so they came back. A friend of mine, Tim Pastor, who created the show, I was working with BBC at the time, went out and shot these shot these characters in Alaska, and we put this show concept together, and Nat Geo loved it, and and it was one of those things where I'd done quite a few of these different ideas for them, these different sizzle reels, these different show concepts. And I turned to him and I was like, man, if this one goes, I think I'd like to work on it, because I found like the characters super fascinating. The world is inherently dangerous where they are. and they the way that the way we put it together was different to what was out there in terms of like follow doc / reality TV, and had a different tone, had a different vibe, and the characters were just super interesting to me. And I was like, man, if this one goes, like, I'd love to work in it. And along with Rory show, it was one of the fastest greenlit projects. That Rory was like a week. I think Life Below Zero was like a week, and the network was like, "Yep, let's go." And so I worked on the first season, and then it was like kind of like the little show that could, if you will, because like Nat Geo was promoting. Like, we didn't get a lot of promotion, we didn't get a lot of advertising, we didn't get a lot of that for the first season, and then they greenlit another one, but was still kind of like apprehensive as to, is the show gonna work out, kind of thing. And then it just kept going, and then we started getting billboards, and we're like, oh fuck, this is cool. And then we started getting Emmy nominations, and we're like, this is nuts. And during through that time, I mean, I've worked on that. It's crazy to think about now, but I've worked on that show on and off for 10 years.
Wow.
And I've taken sabbaticals. I've actually, like, just thinking of the timeline, like, when I had the opportunity to create that show with Rory, that was when I took some time off of Life Below Zero. Like, I took a season off. And so, but I think all in, I've probably worked on, I mean, at least 6 seasons of the 10 seasons, or 6 years out of the 10 years that the show's been going, yeah.
And so how was that entire process set up with, like, the filming and the camera work and then getting delivered to you and the editing? Like, how is that all done?
It is an army. I mean, it's crazy because basically every episode we focus on 4 different characters, and we call them camps.
Okay.
But you'll have 4 different characters that live in very different areas of Alaska. And in terms of the logistics of it, it's hard because they have to send teams to each of those locations. And then and a team could consist of 4 to 5 people. A producer, cameraman, potentially a second cameraman, a DIT, which is the guy that kind of copies all the cards and makes sure all the media is cool. Then they have safety. Then also the logistics of literally getting people out there is tricky sometimes too, because, like, you'll fly into an airport, but then you have to take an hour snow machine ride to get to where the person lives or whatever. I mean, they have crushed it. Like, in terms of our field crew, they're amazing. Our DPs have won, I mean, I think 7 consecutive Emmys at this point. Just because, I mean, they're literally, like, could you imagine, like, you're in a place, there's a fucking snowstorm, you're with a character that's trying to stay alive, but not only do you have to stay alive, you have to make sure that the batteries are plugged. You know what I mean? Are the batteries charged? Like, so just crazy. In terms of, like, the logistics of, like, being a camera operator and they're shooting a subject is nuts. I got offered to go up there one year, and I was like, nah, man, I think I'll stay in the edit bay. I got my coffee coming.
Yeah, I'm good. How do they even how do they pitch tents and have food and
absolutely? They have their whole the crew quarters. Some of the characters that we filmed do have larger properties where they'll have like a barn or a place where they can stay. But
yeah.
Then there's also, and especially when they go out to do these excursions or hunts or something, like, no, they're literally putting up tents, plugging in generators, charging batteries in their own little world that you got to make sure you don't get on camera and go do the thing.
Damn, that's got to be so crazy. It's such tough conditions to film this. And how do they even find people to get on the show?
I think that is where the casting guys of BBC are just really great. Ali Siegel is amazing. Her and a couple other people from BBC kind of just worked on. It's literally just doing Zoom calls, or going out there and meeting people. And then it's almost like through word of mouth in a way.
Yeah.
They'll be like, oh, like, I'm not sure if I want to do the show, but there's this other guy that lives down the street that
16
kind of
miles down.
Yeah.
That would do it, right? Yeah, that's got to be it's a hard life, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a very hard life. And to be able to capture it and show, the world different ways that people live, and especially in these very remote areas, gives people such a unique perspective, right? I mean, because in 2023, in every sense of the imagination, it is the greatest time that has ever been to ever live, right? I mean, we're in a lot of people are in homes, and we have, especially in westernized civilizations, AC, heater, water, supermarkets, like all of these, things that we plumbing, right? That we take for granted, right? Mm-hmm. And forever, up until, the past 150 years, right? The way of life was pretty much the same, minus little small changes, right? And then major technological advances have come, and especially the past 100 years, dude, in the past 20, 30 years, it's fucking exploded, right?
It's insane, man.
It's literally insane. But then to see
the last couple of weeks have been
insane. It's just like that, dude. And as time goes on, it just gets faster and faster, right? But it's really cool to give this unique perspective on the way these individuals live their life. For you going through this experience, you've won yourself an Emmy, right? What was that experience like? Because we hear, Emmy award winner, Oscar winner, like all of these things, right? But to actually win one of those and like go into your office and see it on your fucking shelf, like I know it's just a competition and like, or it's not a competition, but award ceremony, but it's like for your industry and for people all over the world, like it's like the fucking Catalina wine mixer, for TV, right? What was that night and experience like when let me ask this, like when you got nominated for that time, right? And then winning it, well, what did that feel like, and what was that like?
So I've been nominated 3 times. The first time was during COVID. And so they didn't have any show.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Eric, who was also nominated, put together like a thing at his house, and we had like a little barbecue, and he put it up on the big screen, and it was kind of like bitter. Yeah, it's just kind of like, oh man, this sucks. Like the 1 year, because I think just getting nominated is a really
fucking cool,
really cool thing.
It's beautiful,
man.
yeah.
And Eric always has this saying, is like, we get to go to the dance. But then that year, like, I was like, the 1 year I get nominated, we're in COVID,
no
lockdown.
Dance.
They're literally like, it's on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, bummer. And because I had taken some time off from the show working on the Rory project and a couple of other projects. So the year before, a couple of the other editors got nominated, and they got to go do the whole thing.
Yeah.
And they all talked about how amazing it was and how cool it was. I was like, God damn it.
Yeah.
So the first year was a bit of a bummer, and then the next year got nominated again, which is awesome. And then and that was also a slightly pared down version of the Emmys, just because we were kind of coming out to the end of COVID, but like it was still, you couldn't take a guest. It wasn't as fun as it usually would be, but it's a weird thing, man. It's like, it's something that I really wanted until I got it, and getting it, like, I'm super stoked that I have it, and it's a calling card, and it's like something kind of like a box was checked or whatever. Like, I think if I had won, or if I won 4, the feeling would be the same. It's like it's awesome, but it's also like, once it's, I don't know, it's almost like accomplishing a goal. Once the goal is done, for me anyway, once the goal is accomplished, I'm like, all right, cool, now what's the next thing?
Yeah.
And so, is it awesome? Yes. Did it change my life? Not specifically, but I'm super grateful and honored, and just being recognized. And it is funny, like, because the following year, this last year, we got nominated again, and that was, they had like the actual show and the thing,
Yeah.
and we didn't win, and I was like, huh, and like, it's a bummer, and you kind of like, when you're in there, it's you against, 4 other people or 4 other shows, and I mean, at the end of the day, it is a little bit of a popularity contest, but like winning is super nice, and like, I mean, it definitely, like you say, it's like, oh, Emmy Award winner X.
Yeah.
Like, it's not bad.
No.
But it's not life changing, if that makes sense.
It doesn't define you.
Exactly.
It doesn't define you.
But it's rad. Like, because, I mean, Guy, who I think is one of the best editors I've ever worked with, barring a couple of others, but he's been nominated twice but never won.
Yeah.
And he was the person that taught me how to do it.
Isn't that crazy?
You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Right. It's like Leonardo DiCaprio, doing all of amazing movies and films, right? And never, I mean, obviously he's won, an Academy Award now, but
Yeah.
like for
But he
so
was a kid
long,
for so long.
and it's like, so wait, Leonardo's never, he's like the GOAT of this generation, right? But once again, those things don't define you, but
Absolutely.
it's icing on the cake. It's
That's
cool.
nice.
It's a very, very unique perspective. And, walking into your office and seeing that on the wall, right? That's like, it's pretty freaking cool. But once again, if you let these things define you, you let your ego get the best of you, it's a downward spiral from there, right?
Absolutely.
You won. What's next?
100%. And I think that's the thing, like, just thinking about like all the amazing people that I've worked with, like going on that tour of the Foo Fighters, going on that thing, and it's like Wayne, who's this incredible director, and he's done all these crazy, amazing accomplishments. Once that job is over, it's like, all right, cool, start again.
Yeah.
In a way, you know what I mean? It's like, that's the thing, and that's the thing in this industry, I think, is you're only as good as the last thing you did, and once that thing is done, let's go again.
Yeah,
we're gonna
absolutely.
start again.
Yeah, definitely. That's your industry is a very unique world, because like a lot of times although people will move around from job to job, right? Eventually you find your job and people will stay in it for quite some time, right? And it's like, it's like every single day, the same job, even though you might move up the ladder, but still it's like the same, right? Mm-hmm. For you guys, right? It's like you have this job, you have this task, and then once it's done, it's fucking done. Even though you might be on something for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but once that shit's done, it's done. There are very few things that stay on for very, very long periods of time, right?
Yeah.
So that's a very unique perspective. But dude, your story as a whole, this kid growing up in South Africa, coming from the life that you lived, to be able to create this really unique life for yourself from the UK, then coming to America and having these very cool experiences. It's such a cool story to tell, right? Like it really is. And when you leave this planet, right, man, a lot of people will be too afraid to ever put themselves out there, to ever, try something different, to fucking get themselves out of their comfort zone, right? But for you and people out there that have been able to live these types of lives, if you can do that, the world can give you a lot back. I'm not saying every time, man. There are people that fucking put themselves out and fucking their whole life fucking crumbles, right? But if you have the foresight and the ability to just fucking do it, man, good things can come your way. As we start to kind of wind this down, for that younger individual listening to your story, what is some type of advice that you would give them? If you think of it like this, like if you were looking back at your younger self, right? Mm-hmm. What advice, going through all of these years of experience, would you give yourself today?
That's an interesting question. I was thinking back. I was slightly introverted when I was younger and nervous about putting myself out there. I think the advice I give to a younger self or somebody that's coming up is not to be scared about what they want to do, but be respectful. I think there's a difference between, oh, I'm just charging, I'm gonna do it, fuck this, yeah, let's go. But then at the same time, having that energy can turn people off. Yeah. So I think it's about being respectful about the people that you look up to. And it's almost like what we were talking about when it comes to filming people and just having that intuition of when to go and when not to go, and being sensitive to other people's thought process. Or I think that's what I would tell myself is like, just I think if I'd gone earlier, it's like you could have accumulated more or done more. And I mean, everything has a time and a place, and like having a successful career is like a combination of being prepared for opportunity, but also having that luck.
Yeah.
And I think if you have a dream and if you have a vision for what you want, you should pursue it and put yourself out there. But then also be a person you'd want to hang out with. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like if you get to a point where you're able to help other people out, which I'm fortunate enough to be in a position in my career where I can give people a shot or like introduce them to somebody that might make their life a lot better or get them a job or something. It's a delicate balance between being persistent and motivated, but then also being somebody that you would want to hang out with. That's not like somebody that's like a yapper dog.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's so funny that you said that. I was just listening to Impulsive, Logan Paul's podcast, and Andrew Santino was on there, and he said, "Don't be a dick."
Yeah.
Right. It's like, don't be a fucking dick. And what you said is so true. Is like, be someone that you'd want to hang out with.
Yeah.
Right. Totally. That's so fucking important. Right. And there is a fine line of being like confident and cocky. Right.
Absolutely.
And especially being young, like you do want to put yourself out there, but be respectful at the same time. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that, that will get you not far enough in life, but that will get you far in life. But you also said something else, luck, right? Mm-hmm. Dude, people talk about like The Secret and all of those, fucking types of things, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, man, you could put yourself out there, fucking have that go-getter mentality and just fucking go for it, right? But there is luck involved in life, man. Mm-hmm. There is luck involved in life. And you cannot forget that. And so the person that's, successful that says, I got all of this because of my hard work and foresight and ingenuity and blah, 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 blah. And all of those things are very, very valid. Mm-hmm. But luck is also involved.
100%.
Like luck is also involved.
Absolutely.
For you, right? 2023 is on us right now. What's next?
What's next? Got a couple of things in the works. Working on I don't think I can really talk about it, but working on a very interesting music project that will hopefully see the light of day later this year.
Love it.
And still grinding on Life Below Zero. I think we're on season 11.
Damn.
It's funny though because internally it's season 11, but I think on Nat Geo it's like season 20 or something because they label it differently or whatever. But yeah, basically year 11 of Life Below Zero is happening this year.
Wow. So they film like 2 seasons a year or whatever.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So we have what they call it's like the first part, which is like the snow, and then they call it the thaw when it's like summertime and it's greener and they go to different stuff during that time. So I think that we have like 2 seasons a year, but like this is year 11 of the show. So that's going along. We just started up again. What else is going on? Yeah, man. Then taking care of some chickens. Got some eggs on the way. And yeah, man, just trying to keep going.
I love it, man. I really appreciate you coming on the show, bro.
I appreciate you having me, man. I was like, really? You want to talk to me?
Fuck
Cool,
yeah,
man.
dude. You got a great story, bro. You come on, man. We just talked for almost 2 fucking hours.
Wow.
And you have a very, very unique story and a cool story. And some of the things that you've been able to do and live, I think it's very important. And I know people will gravitate towards it. So thank you very much, seriously, for coming on the show.
One last thing I'd say is I heard this the other day, which I thought was interesting. Just going back to like the advice for people coming up, or what would you say younger self is, especially when you're younger, walking into rooms with powerful people, or if you're working your way up trying to do something, nerves can be involved, right? You get nervous in those situations, and somebody told me once that if you're in a room where you're feeling that way, just treat everybody like an old friend. And that just really resonated with me for some reason. It's just like, just treat them as if they're your old friend. And then you'll, like, the comfort level goes 100 up, you know?
Absolutely, man. That's a great advice, man. Treat everyone like an old friend. I mean, because everyone wants to be treated well, right?
Absolutely.
You know?
And everyone's a stranger until you're not, you know?
I love that. That's a good quote. Everyone's a stranger until they're not. Bro, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Appreciate it.
For people listening, where can they find you? Reach out? You got social media? Any of those fun things?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, mattedwards.tv. And then my website's the same. I'm not super active on social, but I'll post stories every now and again.
I love it. I love it, brother. Thank you so much, Matty Dukes. I appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you, man.
That's a wrap, baby. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, all that fun stuff. Have a beautiful night, people. Boom, baby.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, man. Right there. Oh, appreciate you, bro. Thank you.